This lesson is on simple interest. Now, simple interest, there's actually two formulas that we're going to use. The first one I'm going to show you is what we use if we just need to calculate the amount of interest that we earn or the amount of interest that we owe. So I'm using SI to stand for simple interest, and it's P times I times N. And each of these, this is just meaning simple interest. And P is the principal, and that is, the principal is the starting amount. So if we are borrowing money, the principal is the amount that we've borrowed, and whenever you're charged interest, you never repay just the amount you've borrowed. You end up repaying the amount you borrowed plus the interest. And this I, and I use a cursive I, this is the interest rate. And then N stands for time. So that's one formula, and that's to calculate simple interest. The other formula that we're going to use is the formula to calculate the total amount at the end. And here, A stands for the accrued or accumulated amount. So when you have an investment, that investment grows or it accrues. Or if you are taking out a loan, then that loan amount accumulates. So that's your A, P, I, and N are still the same. And this is the number 1. I have had students ask me, what does the 1 stand for? The 1 is a number 1. Okay, so the first formula we're going to use to find the actual amount of interest, and then the second formula, which is the one I prefer to use all the time, because your interest is always going to be the accrued amount minus the principal. And this formula I'm showing you here because when we get to compound interest, this is the only way to find what the amount of interest is if we are working with that, because there is no shortcut formula for compound interest to find the amount of interest. We have to do I equals A minus P. So the two there at the bottom, these are the ones I prefer to use, but we can use the simple interest formula. So if we just want to find the amount of interest. Okay, so let's look at this example. Vedant invests $600 at 4% simple interest for 2 years. How much interest is earned? Now, this is the format I want you to be using whenever you are answering these questions. It helps to write out what you're given. In this case, the question was not very wordy, so it's clear to kind of see what you want, but it's good to get into a habit of write out your givens, write out your formula, and then do the work. So we are given, if he's investing 600, that's our principal amount. Okay, our interest rate is 4%, and that's written as a decimal like that. And the time period is 2 years. And this is 4% per annum. Okay, so PA stands for per annum, that's per year. And then we're going to write out the formula that we want to use. So in this case, the formula that we need to use, and they're asking us for interest, is saying how much interest is earned. So I can use my SI formula. And now we're going to substitute. So we're going to say SI is equal to principal, which is 600, times the interest rate, which is 4%, times the number of years, which is 2. And then you use your calculator and you get your answer. I'm not going to put the answers in. We're going to see everyone's answers as you submit them. So I want to see that you're using your calculator and you're getting your answers. Okay, so that's how much interest. So remember, you're going to have to put a therefore statement, right? Like therefore. Vedant earns, and then you're going to tell me how much. Now, remember, this is not the value of his investment. The value of his investment has to include the interest on top of the principal. This is just how much he has earned. So we could even say, like, how much has he earned? The earning has to be just whatever interest. It can't include the principal because that wasn't an earning. That was his money already, okay? All right, so determine the total amount is in his investment. Now, we can just add them together, right? Add your principal plus your interest, but I would like you just for now to practice the formula for the final amount. And that is using your accrued amount so what that means, I don't have to write my givens again because I already wrote them at the top. And it's the same question. So 600 is my principal, open a bracket, 1 plus 0.04 times 2. Now, again, I'm not going to write the answer out. I want you just to use your calculator and check what you get. What you need to make sure you are doing is you have to give me the interest as a decimal. Okay, you must do that. I don't want you to write 4%. You must write it out as a decimal when we're using it. Okay, Connor buys camera equipment at a cost of $3,200. He pays 20% in cash and pays the balance in monthly installments. The payments are made over 3 years with interest being charged at 7% per annum. So how much does he pay in cash? The cash payment, or the deposit, is 20% of this. And so we will get I want you to work that out in your calculator and tell me what the deposit will be. The amount that he's owing, well, if he pays the deposit, then he's owing the cash price minus his deposit. So work out what we get there. And to calculate how much he has to repay over the 3-year period, that would mean we have to use our simple interest formula. Now, something to remember is this principal is not the cash price. The principal is what he's owing, okay? And then, so you're going to have your principal, which is what he was owing. So I want you to put that value in here. And then 1 plus, and now this, he's being charged 7% per annum. And he's going to pay it back over 3 years. And then that's going to give you his total amount. Now, he doesn't wait until the end of the 3 years. What he's going to be doing is he is going to split this up into monthly installments. So to do that, you're going to need to take the accrued amount and divide it by the number of months. So he's paying it over 3 years. 3 years is 36 months. So you're going to have to divide it by 36 and then get your final answer. So in here comes the accrued amount. So I want you to put that amount in there and divide it by 36, and that gives you his monthly installments. How much does the equipment cost him? Because remember, he didn't pay cash. he took it on a monthly payment. He paid a deposit and then he had monthly installments. So he ends up paying more because he gets charged interest. So the total cost is found by taking whatever your cash deposit or down payment was, and then adding to it the accrued amount, or in this case, it's easier or more correct to take, no, we'll just add that, so it's going to be faster for you guys, just to say, take the deposits and then add your accrued amount. And then that will give you your answer. And remember, we're talking about money. Money always will go to 2 decimal places unless the question tells you to round differently. Okay, so now we're going to be looking at a different scenario. We're going to look at just crunching numbers, and we're going to look at, if you notice here in my time period, my time periods are not full years, right? I'm being given things in months, I'm being given things in days. So let's see what we do when the time period doesn't match up. So what I mean is interest is always given per annum, but if your time is not per annum, meaning your time is not in years, we have to do some matching up, because interest rate's per annum, which means my time has to match that. So we have to convert the unit of time into a number of years. So in the first row, we want simple interest. So I'm going to actually number these just A, B, C, and D. So in example A, we want simple interest, so we're going to use the simple interest formula. Now our principal is $735. The interest rate is 5.5%, which becomes 0.055 in decimals. And then here comes where we have to change things. We have 27 days. I want to convert that into years. In 1 year, we have 365 days, which means you have to take 27 and divide it by 365. And that tells you the amount of interest that is earned. In question B, we have to do 2 things. So in question B, again, we were given simple interest. So we're going to still be working with the simple interest formula. However, now when I fill in everything I know that my interest rate is 8.25, which means 0.0825. And my time is 240 days again, so I got to divide by 365. And the amount of interest I earned is $138.25. Notice you don't put units in the working out. Units will come at the end, like in your answer, but we don't put it here, okay? And so notice I got to do some algebraic manipulation here because I want P. So in order to get P by itself, I'm going to have to divide all of these out. So we're going to say P is equal to 138.25 all over 0.0825 times 240 over 365. And if you have the right calculator, you can do this. This can go right into your calculator as it should. There shouldn't be halfway calculations. You shouldn't be working this part out first and then rounding it, because if you keep rounding and rounding as you go, then you lose your true solution because you've rounded too many times. So from here, you're just going to use your calculator and you are going to give me the answer to that question. Okay? Now for question C. In question C, if we look, we're being given the accrued amount, which means we need to use a different formula. So this is the formula that uses the accrued amount. Now let's put in everything they give us. So they told us that we have accrued $205.93. And our principal is $182.65. And they also told us the interest rate was 6.75%. So, and now we want the number of time, or the amount of time. Okay, so here it's going to take a little more manipulation, because what we are looking for is inside the bracket. So we have to go piece by piece. So first thing is so I'm just going to box what I'm looking for so you guys don't lose sight of it. And now we're going to go piece by piece and slowly unpeel everything so we can get to it. So first I got to get this off, which means I'm going to have to divide that. And notice I'm not putting anything in my calculator right away, because if I start doing that, then I am going to end up with rounding and rounding and rounding to the point where I lose the integrity of my solution and my solution is no longer correct. Also, you're going to waste a lot of time punching things into your calculator over and over again when you only have to do it once. Okay, so we do that. And then I have to get rid of this, which means this has to be subtracted. And the next thing, so I'm going to put little numbers here so we can see everything we're doing first. So first we dealt with this, then we dealt with this, and then we're going to deal with this. But I'm actually going to show this to you separately so that you can actually understand. So this now, that 0.0675 is being multiplied by the n, and I want to get rid of, I want n by itself, which means I have to then divide. So you have everything that's on this side, and then you have to divide the whole thing. Maybe in this case I will write it as just a horizontal division. So that's the third thing that we remove. And now you can use your calculator. And that will tell you the number of, well, the time period, right? That it's going to give it to you in years. And what I want you to do is, if you don't get a full year amount, I would like you to see if you can work out what that is precisely in years and months. And we'll check those solutions afterwards in class. All right, so the next one, I would like to do this one on your own. So here you have to work out the interest rate. I want you to try to do D on your own, and we will put it up in class tomorrow. But I'd like you, when you submit your video notes, you must have your attempt at D, okay? So even if all you can do is get as far as writing the formula and subbing in the values, you have to still attempt. You can't tell me that you can't get that far, okay? All right, so here is a word problem. Eli invested $1,250 in a GIC. That's a guaranteed income, okay? So basically, you're guaranteed money back. that paid 3% simple interest. Determine the value of investment after 18 months. So here I want the value of the investment, not how much interest he's earned, but the actual value. So that's using A, okay? But let's just write out our givens. I'm getting ahead of myself. So given the principal, which is what he invested, the interest rate expressed as a decimal. The time period is 18 months, which means you go 18 over 12. If you want to convert that, you can, but writing 18 over 12, good enough. And because we want value of investment, not amount of interest earned, then we are going to say A equals P, open a bracket, 1 plus I times N. And then we just do our substitution. So that's my principal, that's the number 1, that's my interest, and that is my time period. And then it's just a matter of putting everything in a calculator and getting your answer. Don't forget to give units. And that is the examples on simple interest. So don't forget, you need to complete this. So wherever I've left blanks, and like question D, which I left completely for you, you have to work out and then submit all of that in the correct spot in our Google Classroom. And then we will go over all of this tomorrow and do some practice questions.